Please be seated. Our speaker this morning had her first brush with activism when she was called a feminist in a derogatory manner while defending two friends. And she was only 9 years old at the time. Today, Dr. Carmen Cruz is Assistant Director and Director of Training for the Texas Women's University Counseling Center. She also is a bilingual licensed psychologist and diversity social justice consultant and activist in the Denton and Dallas-Fort Worth area. As the founder and owner of Cruz Consulting, she provides consultation and presentations for institutions, businesses, and individuals that aim to improve perspectives and inclusion within their organizations. Dr. Cruz's professional specialty areas include the psychology of gender and sexual identity, multicultural psychology, cultural spiritual development, existential theory, and the impact of the stigma of psychotherapy. She completed her undergraduate studies in psychology and criminal justice at Florida International University in Miami and received her doctoral degree from Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She completed her doctoral internship training at the TWU Counseling Center. Dr. Cruz founded the TWU Diversity Institute, co-founded the student group Pride, and was a founding member of the TWU Ally Program, an interactive workshop held as part of a nationwide effort to improve support for LGBTQ students, faculty, and staff. The university community showed its appreciation for Dr. Cruz and her work earlier this year when she received the TWU Award for Excellence, the highest honor presented to a university staff member. It is a pleasure to have her with us today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Carmen Cruz.
Good morning, everyone. Graduates, families, familias, friends, amistades, cabinet, board of regents, professors, colleagues, and my esteemed guests. I have worked as a psychologist and educator at Texas Women's University for almost 20 years, and I am completely, really just wow to be up here with you today. I came to Denton from Miami, Florida in 1997 for a one-year position at Texas Women's, and who would think that I would still be here 2 decades later? I was humbled and honored. I doubted myself a little bit about this speech. It's a little anxiety-provoking to present to you today. And then I said, you know what, hashtag YOLO, I'm going to do this. So you can imagine, as a psychologist, I'm going to structure my talk with you today around lessons that I've not only learned personally and professionally in my journey and in my story, but also to the hundreds and now really beginning to be thousands of students and clients that I've listened to throughout my career. There are various experiences about the human condition that I want to highlight that unite us. So let's start with how we listen. You know, as human beings, sometimes we struggle with how we listen. Our attention gets pulled away by something. It could be kids, it could be our phones, the Webernet. There's a lot of distractions in our culture today. And so I would love to have you listen, think about how you will listen to the next 10 minutes or so of my speech. See, we have choices in life, and some we are aware of, and some we're not. So choose how you will listen for the next 10 minutes or so. It's powerful to make an intentional choice. And if you choose not to listen, that's all good, no judgment. Another piece of listening is to remember that everyone has a story. And we have no idea actually what that story is until we know it and until we maybe have the privilege of knowing that story at a deeper level. Sometimes we think we know. We hear somebody say something, we see something, and we're like, I got this, yeah, and we start making assumptions. It's so important not to make assumptions about other people. So I want to share a bit of my story with you through my lens, as you might have already started making some assumptions about me. So today's speech is a reflection of my lens, a reflection of my struggle, really, to get to being here with you today. And I see the world really through a lens of change and growth. And that's not easy. Some of you may be super open to change. However, most humans are kind of resistant to the change process. We like knowing what's going to happen. We like to know what to expect. It kind of makes us anxious. So the unknown can be scary and exciting. It can be both. So I have 3 bold ideas with their accompanying tips for catching, if you wish. First, one thing I've learned in life is that life is really both and it's not either or, which seems to be a little bit more comfortable for us, actually. It's this or this. It's kind of simple. However, life is pretty complex and multifaceted. And anyone who knows me in my life, they're going to say, here she goes again. She's going to say both and. Right about now, it's about to drop. My kids and friends joke with me all the time. They're like, it's coming. She's about to say it. But it's so true. It's so hard for me to ignore. And especially as a psychologist, we know that life is gray and it's complicated. And any human spirit in this room knows that that's true at some level. So what I mean by both and is that we can have 2 opposing or more thoughts or feelings about the same experience, that it can coexist. For example, all the graduates right now, you may be super excited to graduate, right? Super excited. And you might be sad to leave Texas Woman's or Denton or aspects of your life here, and also scared about the next chapter of your life. So it can be exciting, sad, and scary all at the same time. It's not one thing. So let me tell you a little bit more about me, finally. I'm the daughter of Cuban exiles who struggled to work in a country where they didn't know the language, didn't make a lot of money. By the time I was in 4th or 5th grade, my parents couldn't really help me with my homework. They had really no idea about the American educational system and what I needed to do. I did have to struggle sometimes. I did have to work harder. Sometimes in graduate school, that was probably the toughest time, where I had several classmates comment that maybe I got in because I was Hispanic. And that was really hurtful. The doctoral degree is a degree that takes many years to complete. It's rigorous. It impacts your life in such distinct ways. And most people go through some doubt while they're in the process. So I will say that the fact that I wanted to pursue a doctoral degree was not because I was Latina, but it might have been because I was not thinking clearly. What I mean by that is that those of you being hooded today with your PhDs, you're about 1.7% of the population. So that's similar to the number of people with very rare psychological conditions. So it's unique, let's just say. For the master's degree recipients, you're about 8 to 9% of the population. That's about how many people still use MySpace, also a rarity. So, congratulations for going beyond the norm. For the bachelor's degree recipients, you are 32% of the population. That is even far from being half. So I want you to really take a moment and feel your internal pride. This is such a big deal for all of you. It's such a big deal. So I digress. I said earlier that I initially doubted doing this speech a little bit. And the both and is I can be doubtful and I can be confident. I can be both. And it doesn't mean I'm a doubtful person or a confident person. It depends. You know, we're human, and what I realized my struggles eventually were a product of my social class and cultural background and not necessarily my personal abilities. But it took time to grow out of that. After all, my parents couldn't expose me maybe to classic readings or to little tidbits that could be helpful to me to navigate American culture within living my bicultural life. As a matter of fact, sometimes I struggle with English or American proverbs and really express myself better in Spanish. No es fácil, which means it's not easy, and sounds much better in Spanish to me. So I will tell you the time I didn't doubt. Picture it, 1984, Miami, W.R. Thomas Junior High School. I was 14, by the way, for those of you doing the numbers. And I signed up for percussion, and I was told girls don't play drums, and I was assigned the clarinet. So let's just say at that time in my life, I already had somewhat of a voice. Some might have called me bossy. I prefer to say natural leader. So I used that confident voice, and I asked for a meeting with someone in authority. And so I met with the vice principal, and I asked why couldn't I play the drums. I wanted to play the drums, and that meeting did not go well. And I tried for a while, and nothing happened. And so I stayed with athletics and excelled. I made a choice to let that go, right? But there were other times in my life where I certainly did not let go of a fight. And I think the clincher is to know when to let go. That's a big piece of our internal knowledge. Today I have a drum room in my house, and I played bongos and African djembes for the only all-women's drumming troupe in Dallas for 8 years. So we doubt ourselves sometimes, right? It's normal. But it's important to pick ourselves up and think about the positive things that people have told us. I can't tell you how many people that I've seen as friends and as psychotherapy clients that just let go of things that are told to them about their beingness that's so beautiful, yet these small little negative nuggets that you just hold on to and you just think about over and over and over again. And that doesn't seem very fair, right? And so I think that sometimes it takes a while to catch up to how other people see us. Sometimes people see something in us that we can't see in ourselves yet. When Facebook started getting popular, I reconnected with many classmates from high school. They were shocked that I wasn't a PE teacher, and they were like, "Doctor who, what? Like what? How is Carmen Cruz a doctor of what? PE? Basketball? No." I graduated in the top 65% of my high school class. Yes, that's true. That's keep between us. Don't tell them that. So I was an all-star in sports and service, but not academics. It wasn't until my sophomore year in college that I really got into school. I listened to my best friend at the time that said, "Just come to the community college with me. You have what it takes. You could at least study PE." See, sometimes it takes a while to catch up to how other people see us. She saw something in me that I didn't see yet. My second big point for you is about authenticity. One piece of feedback I get over and over again is that I'm just very real. Exactly how I'm trying to be with you here today in this special moment for you. Just being me, my full authentic self, as much as I can in any given moment. Listening to that voice inside that guides me that sometimes as humans we push away, all of us. We know it's there, and then we're like, shh, no, and we do maybe something different. Another thing that's worked for me consistently is to take in other people's feedback about me. I'll be honest, this is not easy. The good stuff maybe, but when somebody has something constructive, we take it as critical. But it's so important to take in the both and, to take in what they say positively about you, but also to consider something, especially as you move on to employment and you're trying to use all the skills that you've gained here. It's important to still take in, to consider the impact that we might have on someone. Let it marinate. That's really important because we would remain quite ignorant of who we are if it were not for the reflections of others about us. My next nugget for the taking is about setting limits. Nowadays we hear, say yes, say no. Well, it depends. If you're working too hard, you take a lot of risks, you're overwhelmed, you're overcommitted, say no. If you're kind of stagnant, you're afraid of taking risks, and you're fearful of change, say yes. See, it's both, not just a cookie-cutter one approach to life. It's getting to know yourself, how you play best, how you do your best, and when you don't. Part of being authentic is how we're socialized. All genders receive messages about how to behave and really about how not to behave. For example, for women, there's a lot of unlearning that we need to look to others for validation, that we must look externally for what matters, or that we throw like a girl, or that our worth is dependent on our physical appearance, or that as a girl we couldn't major in science and math, or that we couldn't play the drums. For men, it's unlearning that you should repress your true emotional experience in life by hearing boys don't cry since you remember, and your worth is determined by the amount of your salary and the style of your car. See, we all have access to an internal piece, all these pieces of information, this power that lies within us that sometimes it takes a while to see and feel. And once you see it, you can harness that and use that for yourself and others. So one of my biggest takeaways today is that we are taught to be fake at times, to wear masks, and to hide our internal struggles out there. And that's tough for all of us. So the takeaway is find one or two people in your life where you can take that mask off and be your full authentic self. To be the full self that it feels so good when you can really, really be your full self with someone, and you know when that is. I hope you were able to find someone to be your authentic self while at Texas Women's. Here at Texas Women's, there are so many stories of resilience and strength as a result of adversity, and I've gotten to see and hear about those so many times up close and personal. First-generation college students like myself, student parents, students who felt they didn't belong, women questioning their worth at every stage of life, sexual minorities, men having their first experience in a minority environment. It's a beautiful, diverse place to have acquired your education. I've used my confident voice to speak up for friends of different races and beingness since I can remember, as Chancellor Phaeton mentioned. However, my biggest pride is being able to use that voice over the last 2 decades here at Texas Women's and feel proud of the voices that I've represented when they couldn't. My third and final thought is about how to use technology for change and growth, because I know we all love our devices. At least I do. I mentioned earlier that I'm in the business of change in life, and people think change has to be this dramatic change of life course and something hugely transformative, and it can happen in small little pieces. So there are little things we can do. For instance, one thing is to change your passwords to something that you're working on. So for example, I can do this speech was mine for over the last month. Obviously with a few numbers and symbols, because they make us do all that, right? So speaking of technology, it's being mindful with your relationship with it. Believe me, I love my phone, and sometimes I don't set enough limits with it. That's real. I try, but it's awesome. It's such an awesome invention. It provides connection, it provides information, 2 very important things. But we need to know when to put it down. For instance, let's say you're hanging out with friends or family, somebody important, and be in the moment. Snap a picture at some point. You'll have it for later. We have neuroscientific evidence that now shows that when you look at happy times, it causes positive relational moments in your brain, and you have those there for you. So I might take a selfie at the end with you so I could relish in this moment for a long time. As I wrap up, I want to share with you that I eventually realized that all of the experiences of adversity and joy in my life are mine. They are my story. They are what make me who I am today here with you. Your experiences are yours. Be proud of how you got here in this moment right now. I've lived my life in multiple margins, not being black or white, but being my café con leche self, Cuban American, big, strong girl, proud sexual minority. We need more of us to be here, to be diverse, and to stand up and be ready to be our full selves, our authentic full selves, filled with all the insecurities and all the passion, both. To have our voices at the table, because indeed, there is space for everyone in the circle. And we are standing on the shoulders of many, many, many people that have paved the way for us to get our education and to be here today. They help by taking risks. One day you will be those shoulders. So when you feel down, as I tell my students that I work with, interns and practicum counselors, I say put your shoulders back and put your chin up. You can do this. Go get it. And so what I want to say to you is you have accomplished something amazing here today, and I want you to go out and be your authentic self as much as you can. I am proud of you. I am excited for you. My last little nugget, you will be faced with challenges and struggles, disappointments in your life. That is for certain. But I've seen so many people be chained by these decisions and disappointments with living with regret and not moving out. So do like Elsa and let it go. It's best, and what I want to say to you is just do you. Just do you. It's worked for you so far. #JustDoYou. Congratulations, pioneers. Muchísimas felicidades.